The barbell glute bridge is a great exercise for the glute max. This exercise biases the glute max in its short position when the glutes are most contracted. You'll need a barbell, weight plates, hip pad, and a bench for this exercise. When choosing a bench, look for one that's about the height of your knee crease. You're going to set the bench directly below the shoulder blades so that as you are glute bridging, you are pivoting on your back just below the shoulder blades. The barbell should be placed right in your hip crease when you are doing your glute bridge. We don't want it up on our hip bones. We also don't want it low on our quads. Feet should be placed about hip width apart, toes just slightly angled out. Roll the bar up over your quads, pull your knees up, and get your feet set. From here, we're gonna put our elbows on the bench and use both our hips and our elbows to help get the bar up into our starting position. Keeping the chin tucked, we're going to hinge at the hips and lower the barbell about a quarter of the way down. From here, we're going to squeeze the glutes as we push the hips back up. I want you to imagine as if there's a board underneath your back. We don't want any movement happening in the low back. The only movement that should be happening is the pivot point between the back and the bench. Now, this is a glute bridge, not a hip thrust. So we are intentionally shortening the range of motion to keep tension on the glutes throughout. With this, we're going to aim to keep the knees lined up over top of the heels throughout the full range of motion. So if at the bottom, the knees start to travel back towards the torso and come out of line with the heels, you know that you have gone too far down. We also want to make sure that at the top of the movement, we have a straight line from the knee to the hip to the shoulder to really ensure that we're getting that full contraction with the glutes. Lastly, let's go over how to use safety bars to elevate the barbell slightly and make it easier to get into position without having to muscle your way up from the floor every time. You can use safety straps / bars like I'm using here, or you can even stack a couple of weight plates on each side to elevate your barbell slightly. Just make sure that that starting point is just below where the end range of motion is when you're at the bottom of your glute bridge. We don't want to be tapping safety bars or tapping the ground at the bottom of each rep. We want to be floating just above. A couple of common mistakes to watch out for on these is number one, not getting full hip extension at the top. So notice how I'm not ending in a straight line from my knee to my hip to my shoulder. Instead, I'm ending just below that. We want to really squeeze the glutes and make sure that we're getting that last little bit of range of motion at the top. Number two, we don't want to flex and extend through the spine as I am showing here. We want to think about a board being underneath our back and just pivot on the upper back against the bench.